just a word on spiritual disciplines before I properly get into it. Last year, my wife and I started a Connect group, and the word that I had God tell me about was cultivate. And he impressed on me that our culture and the world we're in at the moment just wants everything to be organic and just happen. And just, oh yeah, I just fit right in with that friendship group. It was organic, it just happened, whatever. I'd start a new job, they want it to happen organically. And I just started really thinking about that and realized that I think we're off the mark on that. Like the good stuff, the good organic foods that we eat and all that, they don't just happen. Like, what happens if you just leave a field? What grows? Weeds, right? You have to actually cultivate the ground to get like good food to make. So anyways, let's just throw organic out the window and realize like life is hard. We could actually make some effort to get there. All right. All right, let's get into it. Who has heard of yes theory? Nah? One person, two people? Oh, this is going to fall flat. Anyways, my wife hadn't heard of it either. So anyways, it's a YouTube channel built around the idea that personal growth happens outside of your comfort zone. And the creators challenge themselves and often strangers that they've never met, just off the internet, to do things that feel uncomfortable, like talking to random people, extreme travel challenges. We watched a video where they went on a date in Iceland they'd never met. They flew from LA to Iceland. Crazy. Anyways, the point is to show that meaningful connections and growth come from saying yes to opportunity. And their main tagline is seek discomfort, and it's their core philosophy. It represents the mindset of intentionally choosing challenges, vulnerability, and uncertainty as a path to growth, confidence, and deeper human connection. So it's a lot like the spiritual disciplines, and especially a lot like fasting. Some of the things, like the last couple we talked about, Sabbath, worship, it sounds really nice, A whole day, just do nothing. Sounds great, sign me up. Fasting, who hears the word fasting and is like, that sounds awesome? Oh, one person. Yeah, right. You've been practicing already, haven't you? Anyways, fasting's not like that. It's a discipline that begins in discomfort. Eventually, you get out of that, but at the beginning, it's always uncomfortable, and it's literally the point of it. And so many of the best things in life, they actually do take effort. They take cultivation. You can't just arrive. You have to wade through the hard part, So just like seek discomfort, pressing in is a path to growth, confidence, and deeper connection. In this case, with God and with other people. More on our culture. Our culture does not want us to fast. Literally always telling us more. Fasting's about less. Same with Sabbath. And it's really hard to resist the culture. Just the idea of missing a meal is ooh, no thank you. Much less a whole day of eating. And then you don't want your spouse to see you hangry, and it's crazy. Anyways. So it seems ridiculous. And if you've, like me, and you've already begun practicing fasting, and then a coworker asks you if you forgot your lunch, then you have to tell them. And they'll probably be like, what? Not eat? Why? And they'll just think you'd still forgot your lunch, and you're just telling them. Anyways, but maybe you'll be lucky and they'll ask you more questions, and you might go in a little bit deeper, and they'll realize there's more to life than just work and food. Anyways, fasting becomes an excellent way to remind ourselves that we're not slaves to what's around us, particularly our own bodies and our own flesh. Like Sabbath, last week, Deb preached about, it says, one of the main reasons that Sabbath was created for people was to remind them that they weren't slaves anymore. And same for fasting. It reminds us that we're not slaves to our own bodies. We don't even need to eat, even though we do need to eat. Yeah, anyways, we'll get there. All right. What is fasting? What is it? I think, there we go, first slide. It's abstaining from food for spiritual purposes. This is like the biblical definition. In the Bible, it's always food. It's food and sometimes, most of the time, water also. So many biblical scholars categorize anything else as abstinence. So very commonly, nowadays, because our culture is so ingrained, we will choose to abstain from something rather than fast. But just to make it absolutely clear, that's not fasting, as the Bible talks about it. Not bad, but not fasting. And it's not about not eating. It's just about not eating food. So it actually acts like a reset and a reboot for our bodies as we focus on our whole selves on the Lord, rather than on our flesh. So that's why, one of the reasons why Jesus comes and he says, like, I am the bread of life. Like, just constant reminder. Yeah. Now, I do want to point out our culture is catching on to some of these spiritual disciplines because they're actually good for us, not just to connect with God, but also just good for us in general. Rest is good for recovery. Silence is good for anxiety. Fasting is good for weight loss. But we need to be careful not to separate the good rewards that living in God's way gives us from actually the giver of the gifts. So that's what we want to keep at the forefront as we think about fasting tonight. God has to come first, and he needs to be at the center of these things so that we will ultimately grow into people that are more like Jesus, which is the end goal of the spiritual disciplines. To be with Jesus, become like Jesus, and then do what he did, right? So, why do we fast? The first reason I just said, because Jesus did it. So we do what he did. Submit to his way of life and follow after his example. We have to actually believe and put our faith in that he is the way, the truth, and the life. Like, we've got to follow in order to have life that is truly life. Another reason, and this is a big one, is to offer ourselves to God. It's actually this act of worship of like, well, I don't need to eat. I'm going to offer my time and myself to the Lord. And we exist because God breathes. We're not our own. He put our breath into us. We don't own our lives. And fasting reminds us we don't live on bread alone. We live on his breath, on his words. So this is often in the Bible, times of change and seeking God. Oftentimes that people would fast because they needed to hold fast to the Lord and to offer themselves to him, to seek him and find out what he was doing and what he was saying. The third reason is that it is a response. Now, I wanted to do a short activity and just get people to shout out different people in the Bible who fasted. Anybody have one? Daniel? Jesus. You have to give another one because that's a cop-out. David. Esther. Elijah. Saul. John the Baptist. Okay. You guys are missing like one of the, Paul. One of the, like, the first one. Who's the first one? First ever recorded in the Bible. Moses. There we go. All right. Yeah, anyway, so what's interesting, and this was super eye-opening to me, is like the top 3 fasts in the Bible, as I would categorize them, would be like Jesus in the wilderness, 40 days, Moses, 40 days on Mount Sinai, and then Elijah, 40 days after, destroying everyone of Baal. But did they get anything from that? Like, did they fast and pray and be like, God, I want you to do this thing? and then he comes through. No, like they literally, they fasted as a response to what God had already done, what God had said to them. So I learned this actually from Tim Mackey from the Bible Project, that this is a major reason why people fast is as an actual, it's like a response to a sacred moment. Like Jesus was met by the Holy Spirit and said, "This is my son whom I love, I'm well pleased," and then led into the wilderness to fast. Same with Moses, like led up onto the mountain into the presence of God, fast, like hectic. So anyways, super cool, just food for thought, that as you practice fasting, this will become something as the correct response for when God is stirring something and you're not quite sure what it is, that feeling, fast. 24 hours, just go into fast, and yeah, it's a response to what God is already doing. Yes, so cool. So, number 4, I'm going to talk more about this as well, but to grow in holiness. Fasting will reveal your thoughts, patterns, and sin that you've covered over with the comforts of food, especially at the beginning. Now, I have a really meaty quote that hopefully will come up from Dallas Willard. Hopefully, yeah, it's pretty small. In fasting, we abstain in some significant way from food and possibly from drink as well. This discipline teaches us a lot about ourselves very quickly. It will certainly prove humiliating to us, as it reveals to us how much our peace depends on the pleasures of eating. It may also bring to mind how we are using food pleasure to assuage the discomforts caused in our body by faithless and unwise living and attitudes, lack of self-worth, meaningless work, purposeless existence, or lack of rest or exercise. If nothing else, though, it will certainly demonstrate how powerful and clever our body is in getting its own way against our strongest resolves. Who wants to fast now? Still nobody? Yeah, of course not. All right. The 5th reason that people fast, why we could fast, is just rewards in general. In Matthew 6, it says, "When you fast, don't look somber as the hypocrites do. They disfigure their faces to show others that they are fasting. But truly I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you fast, put oil on your head and wash your face, so that it will not be obvious to others that you are fasting, but only to your Father who is unseen, and your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you." Now, there's a few things to pull out. One is, I think that one of the reasons why he says to put on oil and don't appear to be fasting is that it's not meant to be some sad religious activity. It's meant to be joyful and happy. You're not going to be sad when you're fasting. Now, the rewards don't get explained, but immediately after this, it goes into talking about prayer and talks about where you're storing your treasures. So store up treasures in heaven. So I think we can safely assume that it's talking about treasures in heaven. Love, joy, peace, all the fruits of the Spirit, those good things. Now, fasting opens up to God's power working through us as we get out of the way. So that's one of so rewards would grow in holiness, a response to what God has already done, to offer ourselves to God, and because Jesus did it. Those are the reasons. I'm sure there's more. There are definitely more, actually. Anyways, but you can ask me later. All right. Now, maybe this is a good time to ask who has fasted before? Wow, a good chunk of people. That's awesome. All right, I'm not going to ask who hasn't. All right. So, all right. Now, I've written down some excuses. There's plenty more of excuses, but some that I want to dive into. The first is my favorite, probably, the "but he's Jesus" excuse. And this is very classic in church. We look at something he did, and I can't do that because he's Jesus, and we just write it off completely, which is not good. And it's obviously the opposite of what we're teaching in this series about, like, be with Jesus, become like Jesus, do what he did, right? So just that's not a good excuse. Now, another excuse is that fasting isn't required anymore, or I don't think it's necessary for my own spiritual growth. Now, I think this is a good time to point out that, like, none of the spiritual disciplines were ever laws, except Sabbath. That was. They're all invitations to life with God, to a rich and thriving spiritual life. So they never were required, but they are gifts. So they're ways of having our body enter into life in the Spirit. And also, when Jesus was questioned about fasting, he said that there will come a time when the bridegroom was taken away, and then they will fast. Like Jesus himself, assuming they're going to fast when I'm gone. So he obviously thought it's going to be necessary for his disciples, for us, to fast. So, yeah, we should. Now, this is a big one. I'm too busy, or my schedule doesn't allow it, or I'm a tradie. No, just kidding, dude. Sorry, no shade to tradies. You got hard work in front of you, and I get that. But this, again, all of these things are our culture trying to tell us, no, can't do that. But the reality is, and I don't know if you guys know this, but for probably the last 4,000 years, Jews and then Christians, last 2,000 years, have been fasting 2 times a week. Every single person. And they had all sorts of jobs, I'm sure. Not office jobs. I'm pretty sure none of them had all. Anyways, so it's like we can't be here and being like, oh, well, I can't do it. It's like they were in the fields all day, and they fasted. Yeah. So our Western ideology is really coming in at the forefront if we are saying, nah, can't do it, when the ancients did it, okay? I wrote here, don't let productivity be your boss. So sometimes, some days, if you choose to fast, you might feel a little low. And that's fine. What's more important? All right, now, and for me personally, probably nobody else has this excuse, but the thing that held me back from fasting for a long time, definitely very unspiritual, I didn't want to lose gains in the gym. Yeah. I'm such a hard gainer. I knew that if I'd fast one day, or even 2 days, then it would just be impossible for me to gain any muscles. So anyways, priorities. I've come past that now. I'd rather become a person of love and peace than have big muscles. That doesn't last as long. Yeah, come on. Yes, but there will continue to be tension in some of these things for all of us. Even in these excuses, there's always a tension. Certainly our culture is going to be like, don't do it. Now, I just want to point out there are times when it isn't safe to fast. And this is when, every time you search this up on Google, it'll say, consult your doctor. We've got someone more important to listen to than our doctor, but there are times definitely, even in the Bible, that they didn't fast. Pregnancy, breastfeeding, there's certain medical conditions and eating disorders that not necessarily exclude you from fasting completely, but there may be some other ways of doing that, whether it's like something like the Daniel fast, where you're restricting your diet and doing something slightly different. Like I did a Daniel fast once. It was so hard. Basically, if you take it real seriously, no comfort in food, like no sugar, no salt, like nothing that you enjoy, just like bland. It was hard. It's tough. Anyways, for anyone pregnant or breastfeeding, you can do that. Yeah, you're welcome. All right. Now, little challenge for you guys this week, because I'm pretty sure, because this was me, not that long ago, that almost everyone in this room won't be practicing fasting like frequently or weekly. So challenge for this week, give it a go. Set aside 24 hours. If you are a tradie, choose your TAFE day or whatever, if you want, or go for it. Now, I thought it might be helpful just to think about a few different types of people. So there's going to be the Nike personality that is like, just do it. I'm just going to say, just do it. I bet you can't go 3 days. And then you'll be like, yeah, of course. What do you mean? But keep the main thing. At the end of the day of fasting, it's not just to say you did it. It's to grow in holiness and go deeper. Now, maybe you're a little bit more timid, probably most of the room here, and you're not sure. You don't want to just jump into something you're not sure what it's going to feel like, or it's a bit of a hard thing to just jump straight in. Now, I'm going to call you guys the LSKD personality, because I want you to just aim for 1% better every day. So just week by week, add 15 minutes of fasting. I don't know. No, that's probably too small. But I don't know. It's just a brand. You guys are very uncultured. Maybe you guys stand a chance. All right. Now, let's get real practical. This is where I'm just going to share a bit of my own story with fasting, and it's going to get probably going to get worse before it gets better, but hopefully by the end you guys are actually inspired to give it a go. So now, my first sort of experience with fasting, I just saw it in the Bible, and I was like, I better give it a go. And I started asking people about it, and everyone told me, it's great. Literally, I feel the closest to God when I'm fasting. I feel like so much joy and peace, and I was like, wow, that sounds great, okay. Quiet times filled with praise and thanksgiving, just flowing out of them. I literally watched one of my friends in YWAM did 40 days, and he read a book a day, and he was just thriving. And he was like, I just saw him every day. I was like, how you going? He's like, great. I was like, what? What is going on? No. It's crazy. Anyways, now, I'm now convinced that that's what it's meant to feel like. But at the time, when I was practicing, didn't feel like that. It is a gift that God gave us. And there is a reason why Jews and Christians have fasted twice a week for so many years. It is actually good. It doesn't, like what they're describing to me was true. But I just thought, they're just the lucky ones that, get to experience all these good feelings when they fast. And I am not feeling good. Now, yeah. I just felt like God was maybe treating me differently to them, and I had more that I needed to learn. I don't know. It's pretty hard. Anyways, now, just to be real honest, I have never watched more food videos in my life than when I was doing an extended fast. It was, literally, the worst part was I even would find myself on Google Maps. I'm like, I need a break from YouTube and social media, and I find myself on Google Maps. Like, oh, that looks good. Oh, I'm going to go there. And I pinned them all. They're still pinned. It's terrible. You can see it later. But I distracted myself so thoroughly from the point of fasting by continuing to think about food, because it's hard. Anyways, so heaps of distraction, social media, YouTube, reading, whatever excuse I could come up with to avoid the discomfort of my own hunger. So don't be surprised if that happens to you as well. I found that I was more lustful on the days I was fasting. I was more angry, more frustrated, more unkind. I had road rage. All these things I thought I had sorted. right? Under control. Ugh, they just come out whenever I would fast. And I was like, this is not that perfect picture that they told me it would be. How am I doing? Am I selling it to you? Does anyone want to fast now? No. Okay. All right. So the upside, right? The upside is it is a magnifying glass. It sounds terrible, all that stuff coming out of me, but if I wasn't fasting, I would have thought I had it handled. I'd have never known, right? I would have continued on. But then in periods of real stress, breakdown, death, like real stuff, right? What's going to come out of me? That. Because it's in there somewhere. And I haven't dealt with it because I just thought I had it handled. So, yeah. So I kind of like to think about this like taking an ice bath. Now, again, you guys aren't very cultured, so you probably don't know. But the point of an ice bath is to be really uncomfortable and deal with your anxiety and your breathing over and over and over. And then when you come to real life stressful experience, you got the breathing down, things work a little bit more smoothly, okay? Fasting is like that too. It's like you purposefully choosing to endure discomfort for the sake of like doing it with the Lord, magnifying this stuff. Be like, all right, God, let's deal with this now. So I chose to cultivate a weekly fasting rhythm. At the beginning, this is all what it felt like. But I learned that I didn't need to be discouraged about all this stuff. That's the point of fasting, to like let it out. And those were the things that I couldn't deal with on my own. I was trying and nothing had happened. They're still coming out, right? So then gives me the opportunity to give my struggles to the Lord. Allow his power to come in and do with what I have, what I cannot do for myself. So it's still hard, but it's really good. It allows God to do in what I cannot do in myself as we tap into his power. Super, super rewarding. So since then, I've continued to fast. We even began fasting as a community with our Connect group. It's such a good, rich time. Accountability. We get to hear stories of each other. Like, it's literally changing the atmospheres of our workplaces. Like, without, like, we didn't say anything. Yeah, exactly. We just, like, fasted. And then it's like, oh, conversations are happening. Never talked to them about God before. It's just crazy. Yeah, it's awesome stuff. So, and it has gotten easier. Like, maybe it's just because I dealt with all that stuff, and new stuff will still come up sometimes. But it's like I've got this weekly time to deal with it. So if I let it pile up, maybe it'll be really hard again. But it's like it's not. So yeah, he was dealing with so much with sin in me at the beginning. It just seemed like so much. But as I continued, it got easier. And I even get to experience what those lucky people had, right? Like, I get to the end of the day just like full of joy, like hungry as full of joy. And I'm like, yes, I get to go home and eat a steak. No. But I get to the joy and the peace as I fast. Am I still hungry? Yes. Do I still look for distractions? Definitely. It's still a constant tension not to distract myself from my own hunger. Okay? Does ugly sin rear its head from time to time? Yes. Will I continue? Yes, it's worth it. Now, there's always going to be resistance in giving your life fully to Jesus, and fasting is no different. It's probably actually more difficult, but it is a symbol of giving yourself fully to God, like your body. And just side note, like, we all have grown up thinking that like spiritual is separate from like body, but that's not how it was. Like, like the worship stuff from this morning. It's like literally body stuff happening. That's worship. You're serving with your body. It's like fasting is a spiritual practice with your body. You get to join in your body. Now, a few more things. If you choose to take up my challenge, right? Don't be surprised if the day that you choose to fast is the day your boss pays for lunch for everyone. It's happens every time. Or surprise birthday party, or donuts at church. And you're like, what? I just can't have it. Or you just fail and have to start again next week. No. Now, remember it's a practice. It's a spiritual discipline. You don't get there on day one. You keep practicing. And it shows its worth, like it did for me, when you persevere. It didn't feel great the first few times. I'm not going to say how long it took. But the benefit outweighs the cost. So trust me, just being fed every day doesn't beat being full of joy and peace and loving your neighbor how Jesus did. Like these things, as they grow in us, way better than steak every day. Yes, way better. Now, just to finish, Dan said what I had wasn't good enough, so just kidding. So I sat down and the Lord gave me this scripture just to finish. So Psalm 34. Sorry. We're almost done. Psalm 34. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the one who takes refuge in him. Fear the Lord, you his holy people, for those who fear him lack nothing. The lions may grow weak and hungry, but those who seek the Lord lack no good thing. So, let me pray for you all, as hopefully you feel somewhat inspired to begin and pursue this discipline and all that the Lord has for you in it.